Mr. Hernandez, you have one of the worst records for alcohol and driving that I've seen, and I have a lot of them. There we go, Mr. Hernandez, great. Let me see here, Mr. Murphy. You have Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, this is in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Pedro Hernandez Jr. We have 3 files, 24-21980FH, 23-21325FH, and 21526FH. I have 3 pre-sentence reports. So let me grab those.
Your Honor, if I could have a break with my client, I would appreciate that when the court gets changed.
All right, so Mr. Murphy, I have the PSI for file number 24-1980FH, violation of probation from district court and a probation violation from circuit court. Do you have all 3 of those?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. So Mr. Hernandez, I am going to open up a breakout room for you and Mr. Murphy to review those. So go ahead, join that breakout room. Oh, hi, Mr. Murphy. I didn't realize you were back. All right, so let me grab Mr. Hernandez's files. So, Mr. Murphy, you had enough time to speak with your client?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, so Mr. Hernandez, have you had an opportunity to read over and review the pre-sentence reports, all 3 of them, with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor, that was, I do a few things.
And have you had an opportunity to discuss them with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, are you satisfied with Mr. Murphy as your attorney and the advice that he has given you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, do you wish to explain or challenge the accuracy or relevancy of any information in the pre-sentence report?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hernandez wanted to point out that it has him as unemployed. Well, obviously, while he's been incarcerated, he hasn't been working, but he retains his position at Papa's Place, that restaurant. So as soon as if his incarceration was to end, he'll go right back to that. That's his career. He also wanted to point out, and I would agree with him in this, and looking through the pre-sentence investigation report, I don't know if it really mentioned an alcohol abuse problem, but I think that's something that should be pretty clear from Mr. Hernandez's past. I don't think it's really mentioned on here that he has that substance abuse issue. Was there anything else, Mr. Hernandez, that was inaccurate you wanted me to point out?
No, just
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. Murphy, in light of the fact that he has 2 felony drunk drivings within 1 year, I mean, it's pretty indicative, you're right, of an alcohol abuse issue, substance abuse issue.
But there are no further corrections you wish to make in regards to the information contained in the pre-sentence investigation report?
Does any of the reports disclose any prior convictions in which there exists any known constitutional defect?
No, Your Honor.
And on file number 24-21980FH, guidelines were calculated to be 7 to 23 months. Do you agree with that calculation of guidelines?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Before the court passes sentence, is there anything you wish to say on behalf of your client? Or hold on a second, Mr. Coast, did you have any information for us on this file? He's been in custody, so I don't think you have any updates for us.
I don't, Judge, because he has been in custody.
Okay, thank you. And I guess I would start with you, Mr. Hartung. Is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of people before the court passes sentence?
Sure, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McClure asked me to appear on this sentencing today for her as she's unavailable. The court is well aware, and as well as Mr. Murphy and Mr. Hernandez, of the problems he's had with alcohol abuse. And I want to indicate on the record that I did read all the letters that were attached to this from his family members and commenting on his good work at Papa's Place, which is a terrific restaurant. Been there several times myself, and it's got great food. Unfortunately, I think Mr. Hernandez left the court with a tough decision here and left the court with very little choice as to what to do. When he was sentenced for his most recent OWI 3rd. That was in May of 2024. And less than 3 months later, this incident occurred. The incident was very bad. As noted in the PSI, he's very fortunate that he wasn't injured very badly himself, or the young woman in the car that was nearby where he ran off the road at wasn't injured. And he ran in his vehicle right into a house at 303 South Dean Street here at Adrian. He left the car, fled on foot. They found him hiding in just off East Michigan in the grass, weeds area. Refused the blood draw. He wasn't supposed to be driving and he wasn't supposed to be drinking, and he did. I think there's a deterrence factor here. There's a punishment factor involved. There's a factor related to the fact that Mr. Hernandez just doesn't seem to learn from his problems. And hopefully the period of incarceration recommended by the probation department in this matter will trigger some sort of reaction from Mr. Hernandez, so he can start addressing his alcohol issues and get back to being a very good help to his family at Papa's Place. But I do think the recommendation is appropriate, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, anything you want to say on behalf of Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, Your Honor. Obviously, Mr. Hernandez, all these incidents, they involve alcohol, and it's occurred quite quickly in time. No, I don't think that shows that Mr. Hernandez has no respect for the criminal justice system. I think it goes towards the extent of which he has this substance abuse issue. Now, he is young. He is going through, I mean, anyone that's going through this period of their life, they're going through a transition and trying to figure out where they were as a child, as a young adult, moving on forward into adulthood and how to be a productive member of society. Mr. Hernandez has found, again, a career job. He is intending to go and continue along that path. Now, I did want to point out, he was sentenced. I don't believe, from my interaction with Mr. Hernandez and speaking with him, I don't recall him, and I think he had said that he hadn't attended very much treatment, very much at McCullough Vargas between when he was sentenced and when this incident occurred. I think with Mr. Hernandez, obviously he's been incarcerated now for a bit of time. He understands, I think before when I was interacting with him, he had gotten some quite favorable pleas. He was sentenced under HIDA. Maybe he fully didn't understand and wasn't fully aware of what the consequences were directly, from his actions. Maybe he thought they would be further down the line, that he wouldn't be looking at prison time until maybe he was in his 30s or something like that. He is well aware of that now. This time he's been in custody is definitely, I guess you would say, slapped him in the face to make him realize that the punishment here is definitely severe. Now, I would ask the court to consider, we had tried to get Mr. Hernandez into an inpatient rehab. We had tried to get him at Dawn Farms. There was not, the prosecutor did not want that to happen. And obviously, we understand that, and I would understand that they're not recommending for that now. But I would ask the court to consider that. He has been in custody for quite a while now, buttoned up against the low end of the guidelines, what it asks for custody. I think that the time that he spent is sufficient. I would ask the court to consider making out of Mr. Hernandez another example of, again, he has children. He wants to be in his children's lives. He wants to, again, get back to his career. Giving him a chance. He hasn't been in inpatient rehab. He hasn't really been introduced to and utilize the tools that rehab provides for him. So I'd ask the court to consider making another example out of him, meaning that what he does moving forward, give him a chance to go to rehab, get the proper tools, suspend any further incarceration after attendance of that, and to show that, again, so we can show his children, show his community, show that, Your Honor, that you can, after going through this, after having severe issue with alcohol and having these incidents occur, that you can change your life and you can move forward with it. And so I'd ask the court to consider that, not sentence him to MDOC time, but sentence him, again, maybe to credit for time served or a year incarceration with a suspension for him going to rehab. I think that would be the more appropriate use of judicial resources and more appropriate use of the sentence. I definitely think there'll be more rehabilitative value in that for Mr. Hernandez. And again, hopefully that would show the community as well that in these situations like this, we're going to try to see if we can get you into rehab as opposed to just putting you incarcerated. So I'd ask the court to consider that, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, on the circuit court violation of probation report, it said he had sentencing in district court set for September 9 of 24 on 8 files.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what files those would be. I don't have Mr. Hernandez for but 3 files that are open right now.
Okay,
Any
so,
sentence that he would have gotten. And let me,
okay.
in September,
I just don't have them in the body of my PSI. So
because I think he had multiple bond violations and a probation, but that sentencing was actually set for, I guess I don't see in here where that sentencing occurred on my file.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez, anything else, Mr. Murphy?
No, Your Honor, I'm trying to find out what happened because I thought he was given credit for time served on some files downstairs, but I don't have any further information about that. I'm sorry.
All right. All right, Mr. Hernandez, anything you want to say in your own behalf?
Yes, Your Honor. I just hope you give me the opportunity to get the help that I need. I've never properly attended AA meetings or worked the 12-step program when I should have. You know, I did do a little bit of counseling with Catholic Charities, part of my bond conditions, but when I got placed on probation in May, they never put me in any type of treatment when I believe I should have. I don't know why it's been avoided that I have an alcohol problem, and I know I've had an alcohol problem, but I just hope you would allow me to get the help that I need. You know I was wrong. I just, it's clear I need to get help for my addiction, and I just hope you allow me to get that help. That's it, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Hartung, Ms. McClure, I know you're covering for Ms. McClure, and she was asking to follow the recommendation.
She was asking to follow the recommendation, just for the record. That was a similar recommendation on the original file, and she'd asked for that at that point in time as well. The previous file, I think the incident occurred in 23,
Yep.
pled guilty in March of 24, and was sentenced in May of 24.
All right, in determining the appropriate sentence in this case, the court has considered the seriousness of the offense, your history, the principle of proportionality, the statutory penalty, the cost of confinement, the sentencing guidelines, the report and recommendation of the probation department, as well as what has been said upon the record at this hearing. So Ms. Holly, again, thank you for covering for everybody today, but Ms. Holly, I don't see anything in here that would bar him possibly if MDOC determines he's eligible for boot camp. I don't see anything that bars it. Do you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It does. It says it on my PSI report. SIA boot camp.
I don't think, no, I think it says that he's eligible, not that he's barred. Right?
Oh.
Yeah. All right. The criteria and reasons for the sentence are the nature and gravity of the offense, the discipline appropriate to its commission, deterrence against repetition by you and by others, the potential for reformation, vindication for law, and the protection of society. Mr. Hernandez, you have one of the worst records for alcohol and driving that I've seen, and I have a lot of them, but I know, you have a diagnosis for ADHD, and I know that involves impulses sometimes, but, you have a juvenile record, but then you have in 17, possession of cocaine, R&O, receiving and concealing, an OUIL misdemeanor in 21, an OWI misdemeanor in 23, June 24 of 2024, you got your first felony drunk driving, which I have you on probation for. August 3rd of 24, you got another OWI third offense, which caused property damage. And luckily you weren't killed, or the woman that happened to be just standing there wasn't killed. So you're actually kind of a menace actually on the road. And you've been offered services. I know Mr. Coast worked with you, or you're on bond conditions. and you refuse to take advantage of any of them. So we have a violation of probation on file number 23-21325. On that file, it's, he said you keep picking up new charges. You have another violation for September 18th. The sentencing in district court on 9/9 for 8 files, and I can't access that system, obviously, because I'm circuit court, not district court. And it is the recommendation on that one that we revoke and terminate probation, which I will do, and give me 93 days in jail with credit for time served. On the violation of probation on file number 23-21526FH, Mr. Hernandez, on that one, your original guidelines for 7 to 23, which, you know, yeah. So on that file, I'm going to give you credit for time served of 147 days and discharge you from probation unsuccessfully. And then we get to file number 24-21980FH. On that file, your guidelines were again 7 to 23, but it seems odd that they're the same. I thought they would be higher. And on that file, it's a sentence in the court that you will serve 1 year, 6 months to 5 years with the Michigan Department of Corrections. I'll give you credit for 145 days already served. Obviously, if they approve you for boot camp, I will sign that and allow you to go to boot camp to get services. You can't drive a motor vehicle on parole until you get permission. You're probably never going to be able to get your license back. So you probably won't ever be able to drive a vehicle for at least the next 10 years. There's a crime victim assessment fee in the amount of $130 and $68 in state costs. I think the vehicle was totaled, so I don't think you have to mobilize it. Now, Mr. Hernandez, I wish you the best of luck. You do have a right to appeal this sentence. They're going to give to you 3 copies of your notice of right to appellate review. They're going to have you initial and date 1 copy for each file that comes back to us to acknowledge you received the paperwork. The other copies are for you, and if you wish to appeal the sentence, you would fill out the information on the form and mail it to the address listed on the form within 42 days. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
May I speak with my attorney real quick, Your Honor?
No, we've got to move on to the next case. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.